First of all, thank you for volunteering to work with our students. You're playing a pivotal role in getting them excited to start something real and to turn their ideas into action. Second, while we know you're extremely qualified to work with our students, we do need to cover some of the specifics of our process, expectations, and teaching philosophies. We'll cover an overview of the program, logistics of your role, a bit on our approach to teaching entrepreneurship, and some effective tips for mentoring. First up, a bit more about LaunchX clubs. I founded LaunchX in 2012, frustrated that I hadn't really been taken seriously to do anything real when I was in high school, but then also seeing that the education system hadn't really prepared me for the real world. Entrepreneurship has a powerful capacity to allow students to make a real impact now, to test their interest in different industries and roles, and to build the skills and mindset for their futures. A multiple choice test? These don't exist in the real world. LaunchX Clubs expands the reach of high school entrepreneurship to students and schools everywhere. We hand off our curriculum to motivated and forward-thinking teens so that they can build startups throughout the school year, supported by our programming and resources, plus your mentorship. We provide a theme to the clubs each year, such as education, environmental sustainability, or health and wellness, and student teams are tasked with solving a problem within this theme and turning it into a company. This theme will be announced to students in the fall. Teams may choose to continue their company from the previous year, where we provide additional support to encourage their growth, including funding. This isn't a business plan competition. It's not about who can do a better job pitching or of internet research. The focus is on taking action, learning from results, and making changes to create real companies. Yes, we mean real companies. We expect students to develop and test a real offering and to start getting customers. That means you should treat them like real entrepreneurs, guiding them and pushing their thinking as they develop and launch their offering. Which brings us to our expectations of your role, the time commitment and communications. We'll assign you to 2 to 3 teams, making assignments based on similar time zones and matching your fields of experience with the needs of the team. For each team, you'll support in 2 main ways: providing feedback on their submissions through our web-based progress tracking platform, and holding monthly calls with the teams. Your teams will add you as a mentor to their group within the platform, where you'll be able to see their progress and provide feedback on things like their elevator pitch, market research, and plans for prototyping. Monthly calls will focus on questions and planning next steps to make progress towards launching their offering and getting customers. We'll also ask for you to provide the LaunchX team with some feedback throughout the process. This brings your total commitment to about 1 to 3 hours per month. Next, a bit more on our approach to teaching entrepreneurship. First, ideas are overrated. Success is more about execution than the idea itself, since ideas change throughout the process as you learn more about the customer and test different approaches. We encourage students to start by finding a real need, not just a mild inconvenience, but a burning need that must be solved for the customer. Starting here allows teams the flexibility to adjust as they face challenges in the process, instead of just throwing out the whole idea when they hit a roadblock. This means that you may sometimes need to encourage them to take a step back to what inspired them to start with their idea in the first place, and help them see different approaches to sticking with solving that problem versus just chasing a new idea. This also means that we discourage students from asking anyone to sign an NDA in order to talk to them about their idea. Since most ideas have been thought of before, this usually just keeps them from being able to have conversations that allow them to make progress. Next, they shouldn't be seeking funding. This might seem obvious given how early they'll be in the process, but tons of aspiring entrepreneurs have been influenced by the media glorifying this part of the process. If students ask about getting in front of investors, remind them that most companies are started with just a small amount of money, and that even if they need more, it's better to prove some aspects of the company first, to be in a better position to get funding later. Also, they should be patient in building a prototype. Students tend to want to jump straight to building out an app or 3D printing a product, but encourage them to follow the process. They need to first make sure they've found a real customer need by doing lots of interviews. Then we'll need to make sure that they really understand the customer priorities to start by making something simple. I sometimes use the example of the Walkman. It prioritized convenience, but sacrificed some aspects of music quality and choice. Make sure they start with this level of simplicity, without jumping straight to creating the iPod with Spotify. Plus, encourage them to only develop a 3D printed product if they need to. I talked to a team once who wanted to 3D print headphones. This wouldn't have been helpful without the electronics being tested first. Finally, some tips to be an effective mentor. Students will ask you what you think they should do. I sidestep answering this question, turning it back to them to have them share more about their thought process. I help them build out a sort of decision tree, their alternatives, and what they would want to know to be able to make a decision. I'll sometimes suggest that they seem to be leaning one way or another, which can prompt them to either make the tough decision or to have a clear path towards making the decision. In general, I found it easier to guide students by asking questions rather than giving advice. Giving advice tends to make them want to justify their approach and keeps them from learning the skill for themselves. Instead, questions get them to talk through the alternatives and their pros and cons, allowing them to build problem-solving skills and realize the best approach on their own. When you do offer suggestions, make sure to give context. Let them know if you're confident about a suggestion because of your experience, or if you're just giving ideas to broaden their perspective. They'll look up to you and often take your words as the right way, so be aware of how you offer advice. Next, try not to shut down their ideas, even if they clearly won't work. Guide them to be able to test the assumptions that you think are flawed, so that they maintain their enthusiasm and learn how to approach these types of challenges. Another helpful tool is to provide examples. If they're starting a wearable device company, suggest that they consider how Fitbit got its start. If they're developing a service, encourage them to look at how companies like Amazon and Uber get feedback from their customers to ensure success. Give honest feedback, both in the online platform and on calls. Only give students 5 stars on a task if they did a stellar job and exceeded expectations. Most ratings should be 3 or maybe 4 stars. And don't hesitate to give 1 or 2 stars if you think the team needs to make adjustments. Next, manage their expectations. Teams vary in their engagement with mentorship. Let them know that they don't need to have things fully thought out to talk to you. You're there to help with the process, not review their final product. Finally, help them develop clear next steps. Ask them what you should expect from them by the next conversation, and encourage them to submit progress on the platform between meetings. Keeping the momentum of a startup can be tough, so they'll need some support to overcome hurdles and continue to make progress. Thanks again for being such a huge part of helping these students become entrepreneurs.